Welcome, dear students of the School of Athenia, to a new term. Welcome to the class of 2026. This is your headmaster, Kit Catastrophe, and today we are a little short-staffed. It seems a couple of our staff are taking a long vacation this year, but I am joined by the Dean of Critique, Runestone. Welcome.
Welcome, and trust you to come up with that bloody thumbnail.
What you mean this?
Yes!
I was expecting Shar to be on the show today, but it appears he can't make it today. Bollocks. Am I right? Is that the right turn of phrase?
What the fuck do you think?
Listen, I wasn't thinking when I made this thumbnail. I was just feeling.
Oh, don't use that word in response to that.
Anyway, how was your summer been, Runestone?
Well, I can at least partially answer that question in the next slide because
All right.
I went to TF Nation this year.
Ooh.
And look at that hall.
It's literally you.
I know, right? But there's more to it than that. And I'll let you make out what I've got.
All right, so there's Age of the Prime Sideways, I can see. And then down in front, we have Power Core Combiners. I want to say his name is Darkstream. I have him. I just can't remember his name quite well. Skyhammer? Is it Skyhammer?
Yes, it's Skyhammer.
Darkstream is the aerial bot repaint, isn't it?
Yes, and the mold kind of sucks.
Yeah, I've had two of that one, and both of them have broken in the same place. And then I see Beast Wars Razor Claw. Is that the one that comes with the VHS, or is that the other one?
It is the VHS release, and I'm actually surprised that you guessed that and not Beast Wars Neo Rockbuster, but it is Razor Claw.
I didn't know he was in Beast Wars Neo. Then we got Energon Inferno, and I see you have is that the Legends repaint of Thrilling 30 Starscream?
Yeah, that's the one. It uses the brighter white amongst other color changes.
Yes, it looks freaking fantastic. BioDragon 882 says, to be fair, Rune, doesn't pretty much every Power Core Combiner Scout mold kind of suck? And
Heavy Tread disagrees.
You are expelled. Just saying. That's blasphemy around these parts. Get out.
No. Double Clutch sucks.
Hey, he said pretty much every Scout mold. Just because some of them suck doesn't mean that it's true for the rest.
Well, most of them are fairly problematic for one reason or another, let's be honest.
They're all peak. They are all peak.
Moving on.
You're getting sent to the Shadow Realm, buddy. Okay, so behind them, I see Titans Return Alpha Trion and The Last Night Slash. And then I see a Beast Wars Grimlock mint in package.
Yep.
And I can't really make out the other two.
Okay, so your jaw is probably going to drop when I tell you what these other two are. The one behind Age of the Prime Sideways is Beast Wars Metals X9 Jaguar.
Ooh, I had a feeling it was Ravage adjacent, but I just couldn't tell because of the glare. That's a nice pick.
It is.
Would you mind sharing with the class how much you had to part with for that?
No, I don't give away what I spend on these things.
Okay,
but you know what I will give away? My final purchase behind Alpha Trion, and I just want to say it is one of the very rare third-party purchases for me. It is a Generation.
Wait. Let me guess. Is it the side swipe that turns into a bull?
That's the one.
Ah, I got it. I recognize the shoulder cannon.
And you know, I've messed with it for a little bit, and it's a pretty stellar figure, I gotta say. And it's also kind of relevant given a certain fan poll we had from Hasbro not too long ago.
Oh yeah, he would go really well with Shock Whale.
He might be a discussion for an extracurricular sometime.
Yeah.
And one thing I'll say about Age of the Prime Sideways, this is another case where normally, like I said in the last time I covered when I covered my TF Nation haul from last year, I don't normally buy figures that are currently out in stores, but with the supposed cancellation, or not so much cancellation, but with the Cybertron capsule line having been cut short, apparently, and Sideways apparently being particularly hard to find, I just nabbed him right there and then.
Yeah. To be fair, at least in the States, that seems to have been a bit overblown because there are at least 3 Sidewayses at my local Walmart, which hardly ever gets Transformers. So yeah, Sideways and Excellion are not hard to find where I am. But to be fair, the only other actual Transformer they have is Studio Series Bone Crusher. So make of that what you will. They don't carry Chug.
But what about you? What did you get?
Well, since it's been a couple months, I've gotten a whole bunch of stuff. Like for my birthday, I got like Age of the Primes Prima and the Fallen, stuff like that. I recently finally got the Studio Series Ultra Magnus in the mail. I think he's very underwhelming, but there are only 2 toys that I picked, and one of them is my 1000th Transformer. I have been counting, and he is number 1000. And it is Superlink Bruticus. Specifically, Onslaught is my 1000th because I had 998 before I got him, so I just counted the torsos as number 1000. And I got this set from a buddy of mine who is on the Crew of Kit Discord server, link in the description. Next Mix. I got it from him, and it came in absolutely brilliant condition. Fantastic toy. I now have at least one of every single Energon combiner mold. Still working on trying to get Bone Crusher for my Constructicon Maximus. But yeah, and the other picture here is from yesterday. I purely by accident just got a whole bunch of McLaren stuff from Target because I'm a big McLaren fan. And the one Transformer in my little haul is Studio Series KSI Widow. And I'm very grateful to have found her before the price hike kicked in for next year, because I have made it. I have announced to my friends that I am effectively quitting Chug by the end of the year, just to save up for other things. The prices of Chug are just getting way too high, and I just want to focus my collecting efforts on more things that spark more joy in my life, specifically certain 3P offerings. But no, KSI Widow really scratches the itch for an SS Carbot for me. Like, she's just a very, very decent deluxe. I like her. And she will probably be my desk toy for quite a long time.
Yeah, I've been hearing some positive things about that one, especially since if you look at her design, it's very well, it looks like it'd be hard to get a transforming toy out of it, let's say.
To be fair, they did take a lot of creative liberties with this design. So
Well, that's what I mean.
yeah. But they did a fairly decent job. Very kibble-free robot mode. I really like the proportions of it. It just feels nice to hold. Transformations simple and intuitive, and the car mode is freaking fantastic. It takes a lot of cues from the Prime RID Viacon. So if you like that, you'll like this as well.
Yeah, I saw that for myself.
But yeah, that's all I had to say about my most recent purchases. It's been a pretty good time.
Well, if that's all we have to say on our purchases, shall we get on to the main topic?
Yes. Since it is episode 20, we will be covering the Revenge of the Fallen toy line, much like we covered the 2007 toy line in episode 10. Um, so, Runestone, why don't you give us a little primer about what was new and unique about this toy line?
You know what? I didn't really have much of a speech prepared. I thought this is where, if Char was here, he'd take the helm because he is a stan with this toy line, I gotta say. Um, but we'll just go one bullet point at a time because I think the biggest thing this toy line did was it ramped up the alien aesthetic to hell and back. I mean, we did see a little bit of that in the 2007 movie line, but here we saw completely inhuman designs. We got figures like Demolisher, who, doesn't even have legs. He's got, wheels above and below him. He balances himself on his arms. You got Rampage with that crab centaur like robot mode, although that's more the toy than the actual character design. The Biker Sisters,
Yeah.
although to be fair, they do seem to. Well, it may not have been intentional, but they do go in the direction of Beast Machine's thrust with their wheel legs.
Yes.
Can you think of any examples?
Well, not just in the toy line, but in the movie, we also had Reed Man, the entirely like paper thin Decepticon that was formed from a bunch of tiny little Bakugan, little dudes. Let me look at my shelf. Even the Autobots were a little inhuman this time around. What with Sideswipe having his roller skating aesthetic, the twins Skids and Mudflap having a very asymmetrical motif. Um, it was just a really interesting time to be a Transformers fan because they were just so unbelievably creative with the robot designs, and I don't think anything has matched it since.
No, I guess not. And by the way, the reason that I formatted it this way instead of what did it do right and what did it do wrong, I decided to go for a more neutral angle because, to be honest, any of these points could be taken either way, depending on how
Yeah.
it's executed.
Like,
Uh,
for instance, I love the alien aesthetic of Revenge of the Fallen, but I know it was a very controversial thing when it, and still remains so, when it was first revealed to the public.
well, it's not just that. It's about what worked as a functioning toy,
Yeah.
which I guess
Yeah.
leads into the next bullet point. The transformations were considerably more complex.
Yes, they did a lot more work to try to adapt the on-screen designs into toy form, and what with the designs being even more outlandish than the first movie, things became a bit hit and miss, which we will definitely go into as the show goes on. Um, but this also led into some of the designs from the first movie who survived into the second movie getting getting some new toys that were received a lot more warmly than their first iterations from 2007.
To be honest, though, when it comes to the transformations, I mean, I'll certainly concede that they were more involved, but outside of one exception, I don't think a lot of people had any particular issue with them per se.
I do remember people complaining about certain figures, like Mixmaster in particular comes to mind.
Yeah,
Jet,
that
I
was that was the one exception I was referring to.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Leader Optimus.
Well, I mean, maybe he's a close second, but Mixmaster, I think, was quite controversial in this regard.
Yes, as a kid, I was personally vexed by Jetfire. I just could not get things to line up with him. But yeah, things were definitely things definitely had a steeper learning curve in 2009 than they did at any other time before, except maybe when RID came out.
On a side note, because I think we discussed this in a previous episode, I think it was when we were discussing cheap gimmick toys. The point was brought up that part of the reason for the simplification was that it was considered an overcorrection from. So maybe more people were complaining about the transformations than I thought.
It is possible. But when I was a kid, I was very much of the opinion that it was just a skill issue. So that may have colored things for me. I do love I do love complex transformations, but I also love intuitive transformations, and they're not mutually exclusive. Like I think, like I since I'm fairly sure that Leader Optimus didn't make either of our best of lists because it's kind of boring to talk about. Leader Optimus, I think, is one of the gold standards for a complex but intuitive transformation because it is pretty clear where everything is supposed to go. It's just a lot of moving parts.
Well, I mean, the reason he's not on my list is because I don't have him.
Oh, well.
I only picked the toys that I've experienced.
Well,
Otherwise he probably would have made the list.
in my defense, I forgot. So, but yeah, uh, yeah, that's all I have to
And
say about that.
and with that, the third bullet point, Mecha Live, a feature where you move a part of the figure, usually the limb or the head, and we get some internal mechanisms.
I thought Mecha Live was quite nifty when it was new, mostly because of how inobtrusive it was. It was very a it was very much like a bonus in your toys. It didn't get in the way of anything for the most part. There were some exceptions, like for instance, the twins had like a head bobbing gimmick, which meant that the chest had to be all one piece or something like that. Um, and this was really the last period where Hasbro could like go all out on a toy, before capital T capital E the economy kicked in. And it was just really cool. And the whole point of Mecha Live was just to make it look more like how they look in the movie with all these moving parts. Um, and I think for the most part, it was a pretty decent. They did a pretty good job with it. Like if, like you said, if you just turn their head, oh, some gear spin. That's pretty nifty. Um,
It almost makes the toys feel like they're alive.
ooh. But yeah, it really did ensole the toys. I think they literally don't make them like that anymore.
No, they don't really. And if we're done talking about that point,
Yes,
this last one, I'll admit, I just threw in there just for the hell of it. It's the last batch of figures had the Nest logo, or at least they were sold under the Nest Global Alliance subline imprint. I guess the only reason I brought it up is because this was around the time where the bios started to acknowledge the existence of other characters in the line and pairing Autobots and Decepticons up as rivals.
Yeah, I really do miss that sort of thing because it really activates the imagination. I think where it's like, okay, this character, if you get this character, he has an enemy, so it makes you want the other character. I think it was a brilliant way to market these toys because just knowing that one character doesn't like the other makes the kid want both toys to make them fight. You know,
I
and
know. I'm trying to think of some examples. Like, I believe you had Ironhide, as in the Recon Retool, and Bludgeon,
yes,
Voyager
and
Bludgeon.
they also carried over Lockdown and Ratchet's rivalry from animated. They made that canon to the movieverse until Age of Extinction came around. Um, well, actually, Lockdown does kill Ratchet in that movie. So anyway, um, they also had like little battles in a box sets with like, for instance, I had Beachcomber versus Deadlift. Um, and they also had Slapdash and Trenchmouth. I know this was getting into Hunt for the Decepticons, but they did continue that into that line. They not just had rivalries, but they also had friendships where I believe Sea Spray's bio mentions that he works well with Breacher, and that's to highlight the fact that their toys were meant to interact. Um, but yeah, it was just something really cool that you don't even see anymore, especially now that they don't even write bios for the characters anymore. I mean, how are kids supposed to know who these characters are now? You know?
I know some might say use your imagination for that too, but really having a bio to go by doesn't exactly kill any imagination.
Yeah,
It just fuels
exactly.
it.
It just gives the kids like a little springboard to jump off of and make their own stories.
Yeah,
And
it was
they
cool.
yeah, and they could even ignore the bios if they wanted to. I know I sure did. I remember one time I had this story where Quick Mix was the second in command or something like that.
Quick Mix. Is
Yeah,
this
from
Cybertron?
Cybertron. I did not separate my toys by continuity when I was a child.
Fair play.
Anyway, let me take a peek at what's next. So let's the Revenge of the Toy Line. Revenge of the Fallen Toy Line was a very, very big deal. Especially coming off of the absolute monster that was the 2007 toy line. Like it was just selling out left and right. And Revenge of the Fallen had some big shoes to fill, and fill them they did. It had such range. There were, you know, the mainline toys. It had a Supreme Class combiner that wasn't very well received. It introduced the Human Alliance toy line, which was also partially a spiritual successor to alternators. It included little human minifigures that could interact in various ways in both modes, which was freaking such a good idea. And then a whole bunch of gimmick toys of all different varieties. I see you've picked out some gravity bots, which I really want to check out at some point. They look like such fun little desk toys. It had the second year of fast action battlers, which I think went away after Revenge of the Fallen, which is a bit of a shame. And it had to compete with Hot Wheels. It had the RPM's toy line, which I had a few of as a kid. Um, so yeah, there was some, and that's not even to talk about like the role play toys or I'm sure I'm forgetting a bunch of other gimmicks that they had going on around this time. It was just there was something for everyone. There was something for everyone.
Yeah, well, I think we pretty much cover the bulk of it. As far as my collecting experience goes, for me it was just the main line and Human Alliance.
I remember when you reviewed Human Alliance Bumblebee, and I was so sad because I was like, RuneScape 228's not gonna upload another video ever again.
Yeah, well, I knew that point was going to come up. Um, Yeah, because at the time I didn't know whether I'd be too busy to make more reviews, and well, as I said before, you know how that story ends.
I don't think I do. It doesn't seem like it's over yet.
But in any case, one thing I do recall from a previous episode is Char saying that he used to hate that Supreme Class Devastator,
Yeah, it didn't
presumably
seem
because
like
of its
very many people
simplicity.
did like it.
Like I said, I think it was because of its oversimplicity.
Yeah, there was definitely a feeling of being ripped off a little bit, knowing that none of the vehicles could like turn into their own robots. I remember asking for it as a kid, and my parents asked me, "Do they turn into little robots?" And I said, "No, they just turn into the big one." And they were just like, "Oh, well, that's not really worth it, then, is it?" Um, so they got me other toys instead.
I mean, combining toys into a giant robot, that's not a problem in and of itself, but it did feel like you were getting ripped off, like you said.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the most apt comparison would be to like some kind of Megazord or something like that. But it being knowing that there were versions of the characters that make up Devastator that turn into robots on their own, and which were a lot more uh, substantial on their own, just made it seem like a bum deal at the time.
And you know what the real kicker is?
Hmm.
The Legends class Devastator had it all.
Oh yes, it did. It did.
Seriously,
But
you had um, the you have these tiny little figures with their own vehicle and individual robot modes that could combine into that monstrosity, and it was awesome.
I really, really need to get my hands on that set one day. It's been on my wish list for the longest time.
Of course, we would get, uh, full-sized combining toys and studio series, but that time at the time it felt like a dream.
Yeah, yeah. I think Studio Series pulled it off pretty well, all things considered.
But yeah, Gravity Bots, I have no real desire to get, at least not right now. Same
I
goes. Go on.
I just like to get one or two as like a little novelty. They look just fun to just mess around with while I'm watching a YouTube video or something.
As for the fast action battlers, again, not high on my want list. If there's any one from that set that I would get, it would probably be Long Haul because he looks surprisingly good.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever seen him.
I have. Yeah, he's the one with the buttons on his wheels that make him do a little punch, I think. I've always I lately I've found myself a bit intrigued by the fast action battlers. I recently ordered. I haven't had it shipped out yet, but I did buy on Transformerland the fast action battler Frenzy from 2007 that turns into the radio. So I'm thinking about maybe exploring that little subline a little bit more in depth, just because they look like, for as simple as they look like solid toys, and I think they would be quite fun.
Coming from the Hot Wheels kid, what are your thoughts on the RPMs? I think they're called.
Um, Honestly, I wasn't too bothered by the RPMs, just because the vehicles that they turned into were pretty, basic. My thing about Hot Wheels at the time was that I was more into the fantastical designs. So having like a version of Barricade and Bumblebee as a kid was kind of neat, but it didn't like blow me away or anything. Though to be fair, I was the kid to mostly use my Hot Wheels as like decoration in little Mardi Gras parades I would make as a kid, but that's a whole different story.
But yeah, most of my purchases were pretty much from the main line. Well, I mean, that and some Legends class figures, but I tend to just group them together.
Yeah, for all intents and purposes, Legends is mainline. They're just smaller. But yeah, I'm much in the same boat. I didn't even experience Human Alliance anything until Dark of the Moon rolled around. So I was strictly mainline.
I, of course, reviewed the Bumblebee. I have Barricade, and
Ooh.
if we want to extend to Hunt for the Decepticons, I also have Jazz.
Oh. Would you ever
And heck,
review
if we want to
those?
go, heck, if we want to go to Dark of the Moon, I have that basic Human Alliance figure, a half track.
I have him as well. The Moon Buggy.
Yes.
Yes, I have him. I also have Dragstrip and Backfire, the tricycle. But the human that Half Track comes with is missing a hand, so now his little gauntlet just looks like a Mega Man gun.
So, if we're done with this general overview, shall we get into our favorite and least favorites?
Yes. It looks like I'm scheduled to go up first for favorites. I went with some eclectic picks. I think I wanted to get at least something from all aspects of the line, I guess. First up is Mindwipe, who is a legendary toy. Vampire Nighthawk with reverse wielding blades in his hands. That's just the coolest shit ever. I got him as an Easter present when I was a kid, which is a bit weird. But no, he's a fantastic toy. Unfortunately, my copy is starting to show its age, and the springs are starting to be a bit trigger happy, you know. But overall, such an amazing toy. I also picked Wheelie. Just he's a deluxe class toy, and he's one of the tallest toys in the toy line. I just find him an extremely impressive toy. Just how he's able to go from this like super compact little monster truck into a super spindly monster. And he looks like he does in the movie, and his transformation only has like one really frustrating moment, which is trying to get that little turntable smushed between his thighs going into vehicle mode. I also picked the Ice Cream Twins, Skids and Mudflap, just because of how unique their vehicle mode is. They're the only ice cream truck transformer in all of existence, and I have reviewed them, so go check that out once we're done with this episode. And I also picked Ejector just because I think he's funny. He's a little toaster man. They really need to make more stuff like this. Ejector is not just funny. He's also a genuinely good toy. He's so much fun, and he has so much personality. It was a really good idea to make this toy.
So, going down the list, I don't have Mindwipe, but I have Strafe from Reveal the
Ooh.
Shield. And the one thing I'll say about that toy is that he is super clean.
Right?
Mate, what?
Right? He's like an arrowhead.
Yeah, like undercarriage junk. What undercarriage junk? Like his legs make up the front of that aircraft, and the thing about it is, with it being as angular as it is, we get these very sharp pointed legs, which adds to the, I want to say, vampiric feel to this toy. Like we also got the demonic wings, that head sculpt. I mean, I mean, it is a light homage to G1 Mindwipe, so it kind of fits, right?
Yeah, this is Mindwipe is a very great example of a toy that looks absolutely nothing like his G1 version, but captures his essence perfectly. You know? Like this is who he is.
Yeah, doesn't this toy have an Automorph? Not well, Automorph Mecha Live Pick Your Poison, where you fold his wings back and some weapons flip out?
They're just little spikes on the top of the trailing edge of the wing. Um, those are the springs I was mentioning getting a little worse for wear. But yeah, he has those.
Personally, with that, I thought you were perhaps talking about his daggers.
No, they're actually the triggers. The triggers keep them in place pretty well. They're sculpted nicely.
Yeah, but it's still a great use of the cockpit window halves.
It's so creative. I'm just endlessly impressed by this toy, and I think this is one of the first Transformers to have dedicated ankle pivots that aren't ball joints.
Yeah,
Not
he
that
is
that's
pretty
super
articulated.
notable, but yeah, like they really went all out for someone who didn't even show up in the movie, even though he should have.
Next up, Wheelie. Yeah, a very interesting design in and of itself. Um, I'd almost say he's a role play toy in a sense,
Yeah, almost.
and not because he's perfectly to scale with someone's foreleg.
He's actually still like at least
Not
half as
foreleg,
big
shin.
as
Sorry.
he's he's still about half as big as he should be in real life. But I mean, RC trucks come in all shapes and sizes.
And he has that neat little faction switching gimmick.
Yeah, he does. It doesn't really play that much in the movie. I don't think it was very necessary, but it is fun to see. It is just a little hard to get that little the handles of the turning switch uh, placed where they need to be for vehicle mode, but it's not super difficult.
Plus, he can emote.
Oh yes, he can. He can do a little Wally with his eyes. I also just really enjoy how his head just turns into the back of the truck. Like that's super clever.
Yeah, it certainly is. Moving on to those two. Well, yeah, I can't really add too much to what you've said because Ice Cream Truck Transformer. Look,
Yeah, I mean you have to love it. Doesn't matter who you are, you have to love it.
I mean, the only issue one might encounter with that toy's construction is that Skid's hood ornament, like it's supposed to keep his head from springing up when you
Yeah.
push it into place, but I don't know. Is it the most secure?
Uh, my copy, I've never had very much trouble with it unless I was being stupid with it, but I guess it would be one of those your mileage may vary kind of things. As for construction, I do think Skids does have another issue, and it's just he had my copy had some clear plastic pegs that would secure into some flaps on mud flap to keep them together, and both of those broke on my copy, just because I guess the connection was just a little too tight. So he is when they are in vehicle mode, they are held together by just a couple friction tabs, which does mean that their connection isn't exactly that secure. But the one thing that they are known for in the movie is falling apart very quickly. So I guess they just made it more movie accurate by breaking.
Yeah, these are fairly simple toys. Pretty kibble laden. Their arms are just molded on the insides of huge panels.
Yeah,
But again, come on, Ice
they
Cream
they
Truck
just
Transformer.
they just have such presence. Jake Spore, Jark Spore, says in the comments, that was the era. It seemed like they were doing faction switching a lot, like animated Shockwave and Universe Dinobot. That is a very good observation. I know both Sidewayses were a couple years before this, so but yeah, there was a lot of faction switching going on around this time.
And lastly, the maniacal little toaster Ejector.
Yeah. I wish they did just more object transformers, but like funny objects. I know in Revenge of the Fallen they had two of these. They had Ejector and they had the ill-fated Scalpel, who turned into a microscope. And
Oh,
most,
yeah, I'm going to be talking about him later.
yeah, yeah. I had two of him for like a couple hours each, and they both got returned to Kmart. And then I got Ransack instead, and I was happy.
But yeah, like Ejector, doesn't he have doesn't he go so far as to have a cord, like an electric cord for a tail?
Yes, it is made out of string, and it's very cute.
And he has a functioning mouth.
Um, Maybe. I've never really messed around with it. I guess I'll have to do that sometime.
It looks like he does. Admittedly, I'm going off of memory at this point.
I actually can't remember. I know that the top portion of his head moves for transformation, but I can't remember if his bottom jaw moves. Bio Dragon says, I got a Scalpel sealed in box at a con years ago. All his legs instantly broke when I took him out. Did they all break or were they already broken? Because both of my copies were already broken, and you can't tell. You can't tell. I really wish Hasbro would just try to like reissue that toy, but like fix the ball joints. Just do it in Studio Series. I'd buy it. Maybe not for $27, but I'd buy it. Anywho, let's talk about your favorites.
Yes, and it's a good thing I have a script prepared because this is probably going to make up the bulk of the episodes.
I'm so sorry I don't have any of these toys to make to provide you PNGs with.
I'm just frustrated that neither Char nor ID could make this one because there are so many interesting toys to talk about.
Definitely. Revenge of the Fallen is a gold mine.
But I shall proceed because I do want to start off with the fact that on top of all the new molds that we got, there were, of course, a bunch of figures from the 2007 line that were recolored and or retooled for Revenge of the Fallen. And while I commend Deluxe Deep Desert Brawl for finally fixing those bloody shoulders, for my favorite of those, I've gone with Gears. He is a straight redeco of Deluxe Stockade. I think I've talked about him before. The mold is pretty solid to begin with. You have a clean Cadillac Escalade SUV, I think. A simple transformation, and a beefy, aggressive-looking robot mode, which kind of fits Gears' unpleasant characterization. There's also a neat little punching gimmick when sliding those bars in his forearms. What I like about Gears is the visual contrast between modes. The SUV is primarily silver with gear decals across the chassis. And then he splits open, and we get an explosion of color that lightly homages his G1 namesake. Blue, blood red, burnt orange. Some might find him garish, but I really like how he looks. Better than Stockade, in my opinion. Do you have any thoughts on him, Kit?
Yeah, I don't have Gears, but I do have Stockade. Fantastic toy. Gears, if I can usually find one for a good price. I've just never, pulled the trigger on him before, but I would like to add him to my collection someday. And his colors just look really nice. I wonder what he would look like with a more vibrant red, but the blue and the silver play together really well. And it's just really nice to see all that color in a Toyline where most of these carbots were all gray or silver. Dark Spore says the color reveal is always a nice trick, very Beast Wars.
If we're done with gears, we shall return to new molds. And I gotta say, you know that Transformers Animated's original characters made an impact when we get figures like Reveal the Shield Lugnut, and from this line, Lockdown. This isn't the Lockdown that would hit the big screen, but I still really like this toy. What's interesting is that Animated Lockdown was initially conceived as having a more Frankenstein's monster-like design, while still being a bounty hunter, and the two movie Lockdown designs actually play up a specific aspect of the animated character, because Age of Extinction has him don a more professional attire, like his design makes it look like he's wearing more of a businessman's suit, which of course reflects his businessman side. Meanwhile, Revenge of the Fallen takes the more visually terrifying elements of his animated counterpart and cranks them up to 11. Like, he's not a straight up mishmash of parts, but they heavily play up the asymmetry. A hook instead of a right hand, the car kibble covering his left shoulder, combined with the intricate detailing, spikes, and slightly inhuman features like the digitigrade legs, he looks horrifying. And it's brilliant. The articulation, for the most part, is improved over his namesakes, including multiple ball joints in the neck. The only hindrance is that the panel behind his waist blocks his right hip from swinging back. You have two Mecha Life features. Those gray pieces within his thighs rotate when you swivel the lower leg. It's like bone moving independently inside of someone's leg. It's a really creepy effect. Also, the cylinders in his right arm extend when you deploy the hook. The transformation isn't just a rehash of the animated figure, but it still allows him to tower over the other deluxes and even some Voyagers of this line. The alt mode is a more realistic take on his namesake's muscle car form. Well, as realistic as a spiked car can look. And finally, as one last tribute to Animated, both Lockdown's engine and ROTF Deluxe Ratchet's blaster accessories are cross-compatible. That's commitment right there.
I do have to say, aren't Transformers usually made with like a 2-year lead time?
I believe so.
I know they are nowadays, but animated, like, the Lockdown made his debut in like what, 2008, right? And this came
Yes.
out like towards the tail end of 2009. So either they knew Lockdown was going to be a big hit with fans, or they rushed to get this to shelves once they found out how much of a fan favorite he was. Either way, kudos to them, either for the foresight or the work ethic. I don't have this toy, but I do have his repaint, Axor from Hunt for the Decepticons, and I do like his Axor's color scheme really does this mold a disservice because of how boring it is, but there is such a great foundation in this in that mold. He just has this presence that lots of Transformers just don't have. He's lanky, but also like he's skeletal, but also I don't really have the words for it.
He's like an armored skeletal warrior.
Yes, exactly. Except mine has a freaking anchor on his hand instead of a hook.
Have you sorry, just quickly going off this mold's uses. Have you seen Circuit?
Yes, I have. I can't say I'm particularly interested, but if I find one for a good enough price, I might partake. Of course, any version of this mold is going to run you some decent money. It is a very sought after mold. Um, my biggest complaint with Axor is just the engine does not like to stay in his arm for whatever reason. But yeah, it's such a cool toy. I love the multi jointed neck. He's super tall for a deluxe. And he gets super compact in Vilca mode too, sort of like Wheelie. There was a lot of that going on around this time. Um, really impressive toy. I need to get a lockdown eventually.
Regarding your point on Lockdown's creation, it's hard to say whether they anticipated he would be a big hit in animated or whether they just thought he'd looked good in the live action movie aesthetic, but it's interesting to think about.
That's something I definitely want to ask a Hasbro designer who was working back then.
So, if we're done with Lockdown, when it comes to, and this is why I'm particularly annoyed about Char not being here, because you know that if he was, he would put a good chunk of ROTF Scout class on his faves. Because, and I don't blame him, because when it comes to ROTF Scout class, you might say I'm in the same boat as my fellow deans. Neat little toys, some of which had not exactly unique, but definitely rare alternate modes for the time, with plenty of recolors for either side. In that respect, I find them successors to the first movie line's Real Gear robots. The Knockout and Skystalker molds are honorable mentions for me, but my favorite would have to be the Depth Charge mold. It's incredible how much detail they can work into these smaller figures, and this warship is chock full of them. You got plenty on the mast, those small cabin windows, all the little weapons. You have ball-jointed missile pods which function in either mode. I'll concede he is a shell former when it comes to the transformation, but that robot design looks so cool. It's like an armored humanoid sea creature. I mean, sure, his lower legs are just huge chunks of ship, but one, when they result in spiked kneecaps, am I really going to complain? And two, you get that battle mode where the front of the boat, or bow halves, form hydrofoils. This mode is actually based on concept art by Ben Proctor, who I believe was the lead robot illustrator for the first 3 live-action TF films. You can find the image of Depth Charger's battle mode on his TF wiki page. For this slide, I've gone with the Sonar redeco, as despite him looking plain, he actually has a subtle matte black with gloss black camo effect going on.
Ooh.
I think it looks cool. Though I can see the other side of that, as in, it's all so dark, what's the point? To this day, I am still miffed that we didn't get the planned dry dock recolor for Hunt for the Decepticons.
What color would he have been?
White and red. I think we discussed him before. I think Char said it was like a Coastal Guard ship.
Oh, that would have been nice. Unfortunately, I don't have any version of this mold, so I cannot speak too much about it. All I can really say is when it comes to the matte versus the glossy thing with the camouflage, I do think there is a lot to be said about how very subtle details can change the tone of a toy, and that includes just how it looks in certain lighting conditions. So I'm not going to argue with you that that's a worthwhile aspect of what makes this repaint better than the original. Do you? I do wish that they. I kind of wish that they would take another shot at this and just make him bigger. You know, big boat man. That would be nice. Ship him with Shockwave.
Yeah, I think Char back in episode 3 put a commander class depth charge on his Chug wish list.
You have a much better memory than I.
But you know what? although we haven't many toys featured in our slides, we could still talk about them as honorable mentions, I guess, because, like I said, with Scout Class, you get a bunch of fairly interesting toys. Like I brought up Knockout and Skystalker. Do you have either of those molds?
I have the backfire repaint of Knockout, but I have no version of Skystalker. That is another highly sought after mold, so it is hard to get, be it Skystalker, Sunspot, or Laserbeak. Sunspot seems like it might be the easiest to get because no one seems to want him as much because he's yellow.
Also, Smokescreen.
Oh yes, but I count that as a separate case because he came with Dreadwing as a little set, didn't he?
Yes. I mean, the Knockout mold is pretty cool. One thing you can do is you could take off, is it the cowl pieces they're called, and stick them on his back like they're wings?
Yes, yes, you can. The cowl pieces have two little tabs that are for some reason perfectly sized to slot into the mounting of his front wheel on his back, and you can make a little jetpack out of it. Especially if you move the halves of his rear tire to make little like propulsion systems. It's an undocumented feature. I'm not even sure it was on purpose. I don't think anyone knows, but it was a really good. It's a really cool feature. I used to play with it a lot. As for honorable mentions of my own, I mentioned Ransack earlier, and as soon as I mentioned that I got Ransack as a consolation prize for going to as a consolation prize for going through two copies of Scalpel that both turned out broken out the box. But as soon as I opened up Ransack, I completely forgot about Scalpel because I was so enamored with it. He turns into a little World War I biplane, canvas wings and all, and he's like super rickety. He looks very old and withered, almost skeletal in his arms, and he just has a really neat transformation. The tail forms the legs, the supports from his wings form the arms, and he has arm mounted weapons on both arms. He has like a machine gun and some bombs. He's just super characterful. I really like Ransack, and I do wish I had the Red Baron inspired repaint Dive Bomb, but I do hear he has some QC issues.
Yeah, I mean, it's a given, right? A frail, skeletal-looking robot for a vintage vehicle mode.
Yeah,
All checks out.
he would have been super at home in the movie.
I do like the Red Baron homage and Dive Bomb, but there's something about Ransack's antique color scheme that just, it's so good.
Yeah, the aged canvas wings, I love it.
Just covering other molds as well. Dead End, Scout Class Dead End. A little bit panely, but I do like. He's another one that has a vampiric design going on.
Yeah, I have no experience with that mold, unfortunately. He looks amazing. I'd really like to get Dead End at some point, or Trenchmouth, whatever his name is. No, Slapdash. Slapdash. Sorry, Trenchmouth is the bike.
Yeah, I've got to talk about Slapdash sometime. I have actually both him and Trenchmouth.
Yeah.
A Nightbeat. Apparently, that version was originally meant to be Packrat as an homage to the BotCon figure.
They were cowards.
Ugh. I gotta say, the first time I experienced that mold, I actually didn't realize he had a fanged mouth.
Yeah, at first glance, he just looks like he has like an owl beak.
Well, that's actually the interesting thing about that is because he was redecoed twice into an Autobot, and the mold isn't the most fitting for an Autobot, even taking the
Yeah,
live action movie aesthetic into account.
yeah. Like if you're gonna make an Autobot, make it out of like the Dirt Boss mold or something. That one's
I
only
mean,
ever been Decepticons.
I guess that's one advantage of the lower jaw not being that prominent, because you could just pretend it doesn't exist on Nightbeat and Slapdash, and he just has the owl mask looking head
Yeah,
as,
but then
as just his
he's
entire
got
head.
those grippy claws that are gonna get you.
And what other molds were there? Actually,
So,
there are a couple that I'll save for dishonorable mentions, if you know what I mean. Um,
I can only think of one.
but I shall move on because we have talked about the scouts.
Yeah.
Although you did bring up Dirt Boss, he's cool as well. I like, blah blah, kill me with a forklift, all that junk. And deadlift, yeah, deadlift. Nice color scheme. Possible spoons homage. Who
He
knows?
falls apart. My copy of Deadlift falls apart all the time. And
Yeah, I heard the QC on both him and Beachcomber, his packing partner, was crap.
Beachcomber's fine. Beachcomber's perfectly fine. But Deadlift got the short end of the stick on my copy.
Yeah, okay, sorry, just to go back to that mold, the one thing I will say about that one is that a lot of his parts don't actually lock into place. Like the framework of the forklift folds against his body, and it relies on friction
Yeah.
holding it in place. Because I think it doesn't just fold against his body, but it also slides up, revealing the head.
Yeah. You just have to rely on friction a lot.
But instead, I'll talk about the scouts down the line, and they might even be an extracurricular in and of itself.
That would be fun.
Yeah, but moving on, if there's any character who I feel received an upgrade toy-wise, it would be Starscream with this new Voyager class figure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I get his robot design is divisive, but this one captures said design pretty well, in my opinion. It might be a bit wider proportionally, but it still looks enough like him. Come on. Posability is a step up from his previous Voyager class figure. Since this one lacks those hulking rotating missile launchers for hands, he's not as top heavy. Alt modes the F-22 Raptor once again. He's now sporting the cyberglyph tattoos, which they're not for everyone. I'm indifferent towards them. If you want a version of this mold without them, go for movie The Best, Starscream, whose deco is based on his appearance in the first film. Kit, I think you have that one, don't you?
I do. I got it from Japan. Yeah, I was gonna wait to bring it up, but
No,
yeah,
I was just quickly asking because it does look pretty cool. But
oh yeah,
you know what is particularly cool about this toy is that the profile is, for the most part, surprisingly sleek for a jet transformer.
he's cleaner than Mindwipe.
I mean, outside of the clawed hands, which, yeah, they're not exactly concealed, are they? There's not a lot of underbelly robot junk to be had. And that's down to, quite possibly, my favorite aspect of this toy, the transformation. You have to see it to believe it, but I'll describe it for you best I can.
It's so fucking satisfying.
The legs make up the main body of the jet. They don't just hang below, they're actually incorporated into the fuselage itself. And the jet, from the fuselage onwards, splits in half lengthways and wraps around the canopy, pegging together at the waist, with the horizontal stabilizers swiveling around to form those brown inner mechanics of his torso. And if that wasn't enough, there is a magnet that connects or at least aligns the stabilizers to the torso, which contributes to the Mechalai feature where you rotate his head and gears within those brown innards rotate. Like, the more I think of it, the more I'm tempted to call this toy underrated.
I
It's
had no
also,
idea it was a magnet.
well, I don't know if that's what it is, but I do know that it contributes to the Mecha Life feature, like I said. And it's also weird that this mold was never redecoed into any other Seekers, just alternate versions of Starscream, like that Nebula recolor with those metallic green markings.
Such a missed opportunity. And the worst thing is, too, that the Revenge of the Fallen Toyline did have other Seekers, but they used the 2007 mold instead. We got Ramjet and we got Skywarp, and they both used the movie 1 mold. It sucked.
I mean, I guess, if you wanted to have a complete set of Seekers with that mold specifically, well, there you go. But it still doesn't change that this mold was never redone as any of the other Seekers, and it sucks.
Yeah.
Oh god, can you imagine how good this would look in Skywarp's colors?
Oh, could you imagine a dirge?
Well, I
Oh,
mean, we did get a dirge in this line, and he was his own mold.
yeah, but I want a blue and tan. I want a blue and tan raptor, please. Also, I reviewed that dirge. It was my last video. Go check it out. It's like 2 months old.
I'll just say what Char normally says: kit review schedule moment.
uh, anyway, yes, I've had 2 versions of this mold. I've had the Hunt for the Decepticons like battle damaged version that came with a desert version of Mudflap, and I sold it off just because I'm not like super into like battle damage repaints. But I did want to get a just have a version of this mold, and the version I did get is the movie the best version, which has the 2007 color scheme and is, I think, the perfect version of that mold, just because of how clean it looks in vehicle mode. Oh my god! Don't get me wrong, I love the cyber tattoo aesthetic, but I just love a clean jet mode. It's so nice. It is so nice. It is a damn near perfect transformer in my eyes. The only real thing that I don't like about him is the feet. The feet are the footprint is so small, and he is a bit top heavy. The digitigrade legs are only the joints are rely on friction, so it's really hard to get him in a movie accurate stance and have him balance. I typically just suffice with having his legs straight. Um, it really is a damper for an otherwise stellar figure. As for the hands you mentioned in vehicle mode, they were supposed to hide away more, but the joint in the palm was cut due to budget constraints,
It's
which is a rarity
unfortunate.
for this time.
It's unfortunate, and like I said, I merely said he's not as top heavy because the character's general proportions don't really lend itself to, well, it doesn't make it the easiest design to pose.
No, no, it isn't.
I mean, maybe the deluxe they did for Dark of the Moon because I suspect he's relatively light.
Yeah, and a lot more stable. The joints are a lot tighter. So yeah, I'd say that, and of course the Studio Series version, which is based on the Dark of the Moon Deluxe in its engineering. Those are both pretty good posing Starscreams, but they do lack the magic of the Revenge of the Fallen version's transformation. That is for certain.
Yeah, this toy makes a good case of a distinction between liking the character design and liking the toy, because I'll admit, Starscream's design I'm not terribly big on, but man, I'll be damned if this toy doesn't execute it brilliantly.
Yeah.
But to wrap things up, if we're done with Starscream, um, we have none other than Human Alliance Bumblebee with Sam Witwicky. It wouldn't surprise me if this made a lot of people's top 5 movie Bumblebee toys, especially given the play value inherent to Human Alliance. This is one of the many, many toys of B in his Chevrolet Camaro concept car form, and it's pretty stellar at that. The detailing is almost on par with an alternator, like we've said, right down to an actual interior. Though, unlike most alternators, the bonnet and boot cannot open up, it's just the doors. However, you get an articulated figure of Sam, scaled with and designed to pilot B in alt mode, including hands sculpted to hold a steering wheel. I believe most of the robots and human figures of the larger Human Alliance sets are compatible with each other. I found the transformation to be far smoother than most alternators, actually, with small steps like angling both the door wings and the headlights now in his chest, which is not only more movie accurate, but it adds a little stylization fitting for the aesthetic. The robot mode is tall, posable, and a mostly faithful rendition of the Kid Appeal character. I say mostly as B had a slight misassembly compared to the gray prototype they showed off, where the wheels were on the you can see that well, you might not be able to make it out from this montage, but the toy's rear wheels are on the insides of his legs when they should be on the outside. It's weird that happened, but it can be fixed, and even as is, it didn't deter my enjoyment of the figure. Also, more human interaction. Sam can peg onto a platform within B's back to operate one of his weapons. Plus, the seats the seats wind up on B's arms, and Sam can still peg onto them. The seat on his left arm has an optional harness. While I guess the idea with the right arm is that Sam helps B operate his missile launcher. I don't know. I just wish the seats could fold up flat when they're not in use. And there's little touches like the optional battle mask, as well as clips for the missiles when they're not in use. This was an incredible set for its time, and it holds up pretty damn well to this day, in my opinion. There's a reason it was the subject of what was my supposed final review at the time. Bringing back a phrase often said on this podcast, alternators / Spinal Tech walked, so Human Alliance could run.
Hear, hear. We won't forget you, Rune. But yeah, like I said earlier, I have zero experience with any of the larger Human Alliance toys, so I can't say a whole lot other than he looks really, really cool, and looks like one of the best ones. But yeah, it also looks like a proto movie masterpiece version, especially with how the chest works and all of the gimmicks like the battle mask, stuff like that. It looks like the first step towards something of that caliber.
Do you plan on did you say you plan on collecting Human Alliance if you can catch any of them?
I do plan on getting like one or two. I definitely want to get Skids and Mudflap. But
Good luck with
Jazz seems
Mudflap.
cool.
Good luck with Mudflap.
Oh yeah, I know. But Jazz seems cool. From what I hear, he's generally considered the best one. The records from Dark of the Moon look pretty cool. And Barricade comes with Frenzy, which the Masterpiece didn't even do.
That is true. I hear the Wreckers were a bit more divisive, though.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen any reviews of the Wreckers. I've just seen pictures.
And they didn't even do them all.
Yeah. They had a habit of doing that in Dark of the Moon. They were all like every single size class was done piecemeal, and I feel like it has mostly to do with Leadfoot and his the particular NASCAR that he used in the film.
I'll just use what I think is slowly becoming a meme amongst the fandom. Hope they'll just missing link it.
Botshot says the movie Wrecker Toys pissed me off so much. I understand that pain. But yeah, all of these are really, really solid picks, and I think they show off the high points of the line pretty well.
Just to cover these toys, because like I said, there's not many shown off in this PowerPoint. The deluxe sideswipe would have made this list if not for his terrible foot design. Because
Yeah.
the wheel feet I'm not inherently against. Like I said, it's all part of the increased emphasis on the alien aesthetic for the live action films. But some genius decided to not give him a flat footprint. Basically, you have like the toes and heel spurs cannot touch the ground at the same time.
Yeah, it's either one or the other.
In my review, I had to stand him up with bloody blue tack.
Oh man, the chat is just
it's not. It's not. It's probably not impossible to get him to stand up, but my God, was almost every sideswipe toy after this one better in that regard.
Yeah.
Actually, Human Alliance sideswipe was probably considered by far to be the weakest in that subset of figures. Human Alliance sideswipe because of the shell forming.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the one that I've heard is definitely truly bad. Still be fun to check out though.
And to give another honorable mention, Legends Devastator. Again, it's impressive how they're able to get 7, or was it 6?
6.
Yes, this one is 6. I think you had Long Haul, Mixmaster, Scrapper, Scavenger, Overload,
Hightower.
Rampage. Oh, and Hightower. No, it's 7.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, right. 1 for each limb, and then 3 for the torso and head. Gotcha. Yeah. Sorry.
No, it's just keeping track of all these Constructicons.
Yeah,
So
and then
anyway,
Studio Series added on scrap metal.
Yeah, the
to
little
make
one.
8. Yeah. The little one.
So yeah, least favorites now.
Yeah, let's go
And
ahead.
I'll let you have the floor for a little bit.
Let's tear into some garbage. Okay. So first off, I have fucking Mixmaster. I used to not hate this toy until because like I was just like, oh, he's just complex. That's why everyone hates him. And then I actually thought about it, and then I started playing with the toys some more because some of these toys I don't touch for years on end, and nothing locks in place on this toy. Everything is just up to user interpretation, really. And like his transformation's kind of fun, I think, but the robot mode is just extremely unsatisfying to get to. And he has a third mode that he shows off in the movie, right? And the instructions show how to get to the third mode, and the instructions are wrong. so you can't even do it. You have to like they say that the Takara instructions show how to do it right, but I could not for the life of me find a scan of those anywhere on the internet. So I have literally never done the third mode for this toy. Um, and he just doesn't pose very well. His joints don't really open up a lot of great opportunities for posing. He has like 5 joints in his neck for no reason. And he's always like he's like sculpted in a permanent squat. And he just has so much kibble on him that doesn't actually like rest anywhere. It has nowhere specifically to go. It's just a very, very dissatisfying figure. I hate it. Yeah, BioDragon says, this toy constantly pissed me off as a kid because I couldn't figure out how to fully do it, and it pissed off my parents even more. Yeah, I just kind of followed the instructions, and when I was done, I was just like, oh, I guess that's good enough. Oh, I have a special announcement for everyone. There is a third dean on this stream right now. It is the Dean of Fabrication, definitely not Char. You're late.
I am late. I am incredibly sorry to all the students, to my fellow deans. This was entirely a cock-up of my own creation.
Yeah, well, if the professor doesn't show up in 15 minutes, you're legally allowed to leave, so none of your students are here.
Damn.
But yeah, does anyone have anything further to pile on Mixmaster about? Wait a second. I think Rune might be a little quiet for this one, just for reasons.
No, I'm back.
Oh, I thought he was on your slide as well.
No, no, he's not. All I'll say is I have the Toys R Us exclusive recolor of that one. Ooh. You know, with the G1 deco.
More importantly, do you have the hoist he comes with?
Not right now.
Damn.
I got him on his own. Maybe if I find the hoist, I'll get him. Because I do like the long arm mold.
Botshot says that the Studio Series Mixmaster is his favorite Studio Series figure of all time, which is the take of all time.
I would like to say, there is one thing I will give Mixmaster, the original Mixmaster toy, of course the RTF version, and it is the only version of Mixmaster that does the cannon mode that was seen in the film. As far as I'm aware, the SS doesn't do it. And the Legends class figure doesn't do it either. And that is a pretty cool gimmick.
Yeah, it's just a shame about the instructions.
I mean, as for my thoughts on the mold, yeah, call it a skill issue if you want, but I do think his transformation was a bit more complicated than it needed to be, in particular the arms. But, you know, maybe some like a challenge.
Yeah, it's more that it's just needlessly complex, you know?
I mean, I don't know if I put him on my worst list personally, but I will say, as much as I love the Legends Devastator set, the Mixmaster is by far the most compromised. Like, his robot mode is absolutely abysmal. Especially with Devastator's head hanging back like a fucking tail, and those gangly arms from the cement drum.
Well, I think the gangly arms from the cement drum is on purpose, but the rest is, yeah, that sucks. But yeah, my next pick is Blazemaster, the deluxe class helicopter. I got this one for a birthday. I'm pretty sure. And
does anyone receive this toy willingly?
I think it is genuinely the worst toy in the entire toy line. Like,
of all time or just of RTF?
Just the toy line, just this toy line.
Okay.
I
don't know. I feel like it's a contender for both.
I don't know about that. It's up there, sure, but I don't think I can say it's the worst, capital W worst. Apparently, wait, that's the fucking. Apparently, BioDragon is the single Blazemaster Glazer in all of God's glorious creation. What a special person.
Well, I suppose it goes to show, no matter how unsightly you are, no matter how repulsive you are, there's someone out there for you.
That means a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Blazemaster is an absolutely abhorrent toy. And the worst part is, I like his vehicle mode. Like it's a nice vehicle mode. It's a news helicopter with a spinning rotor gimmick. Of course, the rotor doesn't sit on there very well. It can pop off pretty easily. But his transformation is ambitious. He has an interesting robot mode. And he's an abject failure. The transformation is so complex for very little payoff. The torso feels like it's like flopping around the whole time. The tail transforms a lot and barely locks in anywhere, so it just flops down his back. It has like one locking point to connect it to the rest of the robot mode, and that's it. So you have to like lean him forward to keep the tail rotors in position. His arms are basically non-existent. They're just a bunch of panels folded in on themselves like movie one Jazz. And the legs are just so wiry and spindly and full of so many joints. And he's propped up by the tiniest footprint like possible. It is such a hard figure to stand up.
And also good luck with those ball joints.
Yeah. It's not even that they're like loose. It's just he's so top heavy. Like you could like super glue these ball joints like 5 times and he'll still fall over.
I would also like to mention about the rotor gimmick. Normally, I'm a big proponent of rotor gimmicks. I'm sure you would know from the episode of the podcast that we did. But this is probably one of the most underwhelming rotor gimmicks to ever be on a Transformers toy, because it is a deluxe class figure, and so the rotors are simply too small for them to collect enough momentum for the rotor gimmick to be really effective. So, yes, even in the thing that I normally like that he does, he sucks. Like Icarus, he flew too close to the sun and was burned.
Indeed. I know for a fact that Runestone does not have much to say on this just yet, so I will move on to my next pick, Deluxe Class RC, which was a Christmas gift, I believe. I was super excited for this toy when I got it, just because of how weird her robot mode is. But it's just a bad toy. The vehicle mode, once again, is pretty great, as are most vehicle modes in Revenge of the Fallen, let's be honest. If you have a bad vehicle mode in Revenge of the Fallen, you're doing something wrong. But I do like the sidecar she comes with, but it is extremely weird that the sidecar does not have a wheel of its own, like a real sidecar. The transformation is just kind of a little nothing, it's especially going back into vehicle mode. It's really hard to tell how things line up, especially with that spine. It's just awful. I reviewed this toy way back in the day. It was my 5th ever video. and it's just a terrible toy. And my copy cannot even stand up straight. Well, standing up straight is not something RC does, but you know what I'm trying to say here. She cannot hold herself upright because the ball joint that connects the spine to the lower torso is super loose on my copy. So she just kind of flops around, usually backward. So it's a very poor show. It's a very, very poor show.
Another problem I would like to add with this toy is that the arms are just nothing. At least the left arm, the smaller arm, it just I don't know if you feel the same way, Kit, but the arm just doesn't feel it. It's like it almost feels like a token effort to have two.
Yeah, it does the same thing as Blazemaster, where it's just a panel that wraps around like a little armature, except this time she actually has a hand.
Yes.
At least her right arm has like a spring-loaded like knife gimmick, which is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that the rest of the toy sucks.
I mean, the thing is, this design in of itself is probably one of the most difficult to pull off as a toy.
Oh, definitely.
So yes. I don't think did they ever attempt? Oh yes, they did in Studio Series. The Legends figures, haven't they?
Yeah, they did, and it's been so long since I've touched those. I can't remember exactly what I think about them. But yeah.
I can't comment too much on this toy because I actively didn't buy it. Because even at the time it was fairly unpopular. Again, I'm all for unique and interesting designs, but this one looked like it sucked as a toy.
You were right.
What might have helped a little bit is if her spine, we'll call it, wasn't permanently molded to be lopsided. Like if it was constructed on a ball jointed system similar to Beast Wars Quick Strike's tail, at least then maybe you'd have a little more functionality to go with.
At the same time, it would have been so much looser. No, I don't know. Like I think I prefer the ball joints on either end and hinge system in the middle. It's just that those hinges need a lot more range.
I mean, all I can say when looking at that spine is fatality.
Mm-hmm.
And right, I'm not sure. And just to bring her up, I'm not sure Chromia was much better received.
Yeah, though I do think her reputation is a bit warmer than RC's, though, just because of how bad RC is. Anyway, my last pick is Deluxe Class Soundwave, and it's mostly like I want to like this toy. I love the look of the robot mode, honestly, and I think the vehicle modes look pretty cool. It's just he doesn't really have much in the way of locking tabs in any mode. Really, it's just the legs tapping together, and he, at least on my copy, his hips cannot hold up his weight like whatsoever. I cannot display this thing in robot mode whatsoever. So it's always been a miserable figure for me to play with as a kid, just because of those two reasons.
And yet somehow it is still the better deluxe of that design.
Yeah. I know I praised the Studio Series version a bit, but that's just because of how miserable I am whenever I play with this toy. That doesn't actually make the Studio Series one good.
Another thing that's kind of funny about this toy is it is the only toy in this toy line to have very cartoonish looking fists. I don't know if anyone else noticed this, but like the fists on this figure look very out of place in the Bayverse aesthetic, especially for a Decepticon.
This is true. You would expect him to have like open hands or something.
Yeah, but he
Doesn't
has
he
like more. Sorry, go ahead, Ray.
I was just saying, doesn't he have curling iron arms?
That is also true. And
He is a throwback to animated.
And the worst part is the insides of his arms are completely hollow.
It's very sad to see.
Yeah. Definitely just needed another pass on this toy, and it could have been something pretty good.
I mean, the real question is, what would you have him transform into? Because he is sort of a brick of nothing in the movie. Maybe you'd have to have him turn into the satellite that he merged with.
I don't know. Like I thought that the designs of the vehicle modes they gave him were pretty decent. They just needed like a bit more solidity, you know. I don't mind how abstract he is. They're structured enough to activate the imagination, I think.
Fair enough.
Anyway, that's all I had to say about my least favorites.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we'll move on to mine.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And yeah, I mean, we've kind of already talked about Blaze Master. I think I've made my distaste for this toy pretty well known by now. I mean, one thing I can give him credit for is in a franchise full of military and rescue helicopters, Blaze Master, like we said, turns into a news chopper. And granted, that's just the deco, as this mold was recolored several times, but it's still not something you see often. It also has a spinning rotor gimmick, as Char brought up, which, well, I thought he'd appreciate just by its existence, but apparently he found it underwhelming.
Yes. I am in favor of gimmicks, but I am in favor of well-executed gimmicks.
Okay. And in keeping with the line's increased focus on non-humanoid designs, the robot has the whole bird-like motif, which I thought another Dean would approve of, but no. The helicopter cowling splits into wing-shaped arms, plus there's the digitigrade legs. However, the way this is designed, to me, it doesn't make for the most playable or functional action figure. I mean, it has articulation, but a lot of it just doesn't amount to much. Like the ball-jointed shoulders face forward so they can only move sideways. The forearms have an okay range, but what can they do exactly? Poke people? Certainly not hold anything. But those thumbs this mold has are so obscure they may as well not exist. Even aesthetically, the forearms themselves look crap. Because, like you said, Kit, the panels don't even completely fold up. Like, even 2007 Deluxe Jazz got that one right.
Yeah.
He's also pretty top-heavy, with skinny legs and tiny feet trying to balance all of that. Lastly, on mine, the helicopter tail backpack didn't hold together great, but I don't know. Apparently, I got others telling me theirs did fine. So maybe it's a your mileage may vary kind of thing.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I mean, the spinning rotor gimmick may be underwhelming, but I will acknowledge it does retain it on the left wing arm. And it's a good thing too, since officially the rotor is supposed to split apart, with each half plugging onto each arm. And the one on the right is held on with nothing but friction. Ultimately, this mold, be it as Blazemaster, Evac, Blades, or Tail Whip is clearly a case of style over substance.
What did you call him?
Tail Whip.
No, that's wrong. Don't say it like that.
What's wrong? I don't understand. Why do you have an issue with the way we pronounce Tail Whip?
Ah!
I don't know, man. I think you've got I think you've just got some kind of issue. I think the way we pronounce Tail Whip is fine. Americans are kind of weird, Rune, aren't they?
The British aren't much better. Any other thoughts on Blazemaster?
No, I think we've exhausted ourselves.
I think it's time to let the poor boy rest.
Put him down.
Tail Whip. Anyway, next up, Voyager class, The Fallen. It's fitting that one of the most underwhelming characters in the live-action films gets a pretty mid toy overall. So, addressing the elephant in the room, The Fallen didn't transform in the movie itself. So they made up this Cybertronian destroyer. And I'll say, compared to most toys of Megatron from the first movie line, they do incorporate more of the robot into the vehicle. Like, the legs are splayed out into wings, while the forearm guards resemble boosters akin to G1 Jetfire. Plus, the spikes and the sharp canopy design add to the sinister vibe. That said, I understand he's ancient, so the alt mode wouldn't necessarily look as polished, but you get the feeling the designers knew this too, and used this to cop out in certain areas. Like, in trying to cover the mask, the robot waist panel just kind of sloppily falls over the fuselage. And in its official configuration, the hands aren't even covered up. On the whole, this is still a pretty gappy and not terribly solid spaceship. The robot is the better mode, with its Predator meets Bionicle aesthetic. There's some nice versatility with the deployable red solar panels. You can connect the forearms to those waist extensions for a more movie-accurate look, or at least leave them detached so he's more posable. My only gripe here is, like Skystalker, he has those annoying feet that spring shut when you lift him off the ground. Again, I could live without those. Of my picks for least favorite, The Fallen is probably the best of them, but he's not a must-have by any means. If you have to get this mold, go for either the Burning Target exclusive, that fiery
I have that one.
Yeah, I saw it. That fiery deco kicks ass. Or the Hunt for the Decepticons retool that comes with the staff and removable mask. Better still, get the Studio Series Leader Class Fallen instead. And even that toy is flawed itself.
Yeah, this is one Revenge of the Fallen toy where I have no qualms about recommending the Studio Series 1 over it. It's just a very underwhelming toy. Like the Burning Deco, the one that I have, does help things quite a bit. But he still doesn't exactly do much, and you can't really get him to pose, especially if you want to use the film accurate sinews connecting his arms to his torso. At least the Studio Series 1 has a lot more joints to make those more usable, you know. But yeah, the vehicle mode's kind of nothing. The robot mode is kind of nothing, and the transformation is kind of nothing. So, and he has those stupid fucking feet that really make it hard for him to stand up. I hate them. I hate them. So, yeah. Oh, but all of his tech spec stats are infinity. So cool.
I'll be honest, that is kind of cool. That is kind of cool if you're like a little kid and you're like, oh my god. But also,
oh my god,
I'd
he's like
to...
Frieza.
Oh my god. I have the least experience of this toy out of the group because I don't own it. I've only ever experienced it once at a friend's house. And I'll say this: when I played with it, I actually quite liked it. I was surprised by how much I liked it. So take that for what you will. Everyone's critiques here have been very valid. But for some reason, when I had it in hand, I quite enjoyed it. Entirely irrational. Purely vibes.
Each to their own, really.
Maybe I would grow to despise it if I ever bought one.
I don't know, but if we're done with the Fallen, next up, Deluxe Mudflap. Controversy aside, the Twins' original Deluxe class figures aren't the best, in my opinion. The vehicle modes are pretty good. Skids being the Chevy Beat, Mudflap the Chevy Trax. Mudflap even has a neat trick where the missile slots underneath, forming an exhaust fume. An effects part before its time, you might say. Unfortunately, the Twins are pretty major shell formers, and in Mudflap's case, almost the entire vehicle ends up on his back, outside of things like the door wings and the front wheels fixed to his feet. Now, I'll admit that my experience with this mold is soured by a misunderstanding of how the backpack pegs into place. For the longest time, I thought the tab behind his head pegs into the vehicle's missile slot, which, yeah, didn't hold together great. It was when I posted my video on the Tuna Mudflap redeco that Kit commented, "There's a slot further back that the tab is supposed to go into. The trick is actually getting it into place," which presents a new problem, as you have to force the main body past the wheels within the backpack to reach that slot. The clearance is bad, and it feels like you're breaking the damn thing trying.
In your defense, the instructions are very unclear about it, and it's really something you have to capital K, capital A know about beforehand.
Oh yeah, I was going to say, don't bother bringing up the instructions. They're awful. I've checked myself, and they're vague as to how it's supposed to come together.
Yeah, they were not thought through well at all.
But the robot does hold together much better once it actually is in place. But man, is it a chore to get there. The robot's gimmicks are fine. The head nods when you press the grill now on his chest. Also, if you curl the fist on his enlarged arm, the missile launcher deploys. Skids actually has a similar feature, save for an actual firing missile. For official toys of the Twins, I'd say get the Human Alliance figures. Except, like I said, Mudflap is stupid rare. He didn't even get a redeco in Dark of the Moon like Skids did.
Yeah. All I have to say is I'm glad Skids is not on this list. Because he was my first Revenge of the Fallen toy, and I quite like him. Though out of the Twins, I've always preferred Skids over Mudflap.
I feel like everyone does.
He's
Skids
green.
is always Mudflap is always the secondary twin, I've noticed.
Yeah, because he sucks.
So sad.
Even the Dark of the Moon one is really, really bad. I quite like Skids, though, even though his knees bend the wrong way.
Well, I mean, with ROTF Deluxe Skids, like I said, that's not the greatest toy either, but at least he, as far as I can, recall, distributes his kibble a bit more evenly, and in a non-intrusive way at that, because you have panels on the shoulders, panels wrapped around his legs. The backpack is not nearly as prominent and actually pegs into place.
Yes,
I'm
yes.
genuinely
Also,
somewhat surprised. Sorry, go
I
ahead.
was just going to say, this next point isn't exactly this toy's fault, but I've never been a fan of Mudflap's head design. It looks like if they designed this for the toy first, it feels like someone intentionally left it on a radiator out of spite and it melted, and they used that for the final character design.
Very true. Though I suppose the characters are intentionally ugly, so you know. One could even argue that they are pug-like.
It's
But
like
go ahead.
it's like someone opened the government in front of him.
It's true. It's true. Also, I personally can't speak much on this toy because I've never owned one. I've never owned either of the twins outside of the ice cream truck.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I had the Hunt for the Decepticons 2-pack of Starscream and a desert mudflap. He had like a bunch of sand on him. I ended up selling both figures and just got Movie the Best Starscream and the regular release of Mudflap instead. He looks a lot better, but he plays the same.
An excellent trade. Movie the Best Starscream.
Indeed.
Indeed, yeah.
Indubitably.
So, if we're done with Mudflap, next up we have Rampage, and I honestly thought you were going to pick him for your slide kit.
I didn't play with mine enough to hate him, which is an indictment in and of itself, I guess.
Well, I owned the original yellow release instead of the red redeco that came near the line's end. Hasbro have since retconned the yellow bot into a different Constructicon named Skipjack, with the red bot being Rampage. In any case, this toy was honestly the most disappointing for me. I wanted him to be the next 2007 Deluxe Bone Crusher, a completely off-the-wall design filled to the brim with fun little gimmicks, and they kind of botched it. The Bulldozer looks fine. As with a lot of live-action movie toys, the detailing is exquisite, and the deco realistic, if a bit bland. The big problem with this mold is, I guess, ironically, the build quality. The pistons don't peg anywhere in alt mode. They just tuck between the robot feet and main body. Also the way the track springs peg into the treads keep things stable, but when you unpeg them for the transformation, you'll find that they, along with the entire shovel and grill assembly, is connected to the rest of the toy via a single friction hinge, and it is very weak. Like, don't be surprised if yours falls off when going back and forth between modes. The robot mode, again, I'll acknowledge, it's an interesting design. You'll often hear it called a crab-like centaur, and when you hear crab, you immediately think of Beast Wars Rampage. It's a subtle homage at most, I'd say. I also like how the Ripper claws form actual claws, with the treads tucked between them like whips. Even if they're not that stable. However, the articulation is hampered. Not only is the head blocked despite the ball-jointed neck, but the hips are unified and the knees are spring-loaded for that bonus jackhammer mode. Speaking of, the jackhammer mode is fun in concept. I know some will find the whole springing the toy up and down thing addictive, and the pistons actually function properly here, but it holds together poorly. Like, on top of the aforementioned friction hinge, the shovel pegs in at the back, but those tabs can come apart pretty easily. This is another case of this toy should have been made at a larger size class. In this case, a Voyager. And we got one in Studio Series, which could combine.
Hooray!
Yeah, this toy, I had this toy as a kid. This was probably one of the toys I remember most, perhaps unfortunately, from my childhood, at least in terms of the RTF era. And most of that memory is me just being confused as to how the toy was supposed to work. The pistons were very frustrating because the whole assembly and the chest it was never really explicit how the chest thing was supposed to sit. And so you just had to like leave it somewhere and hope it stayed there. And the same in vehicle mode, the little thing, it just kind of sat there and didn't lock in nicely, and it wasn't at all satisfying. The spring gimmick is a fun idea, but it is very frustrating that
It's very what?
Very frustrating.
I think you dropped a letter there. My fend.
Excuse me?
Frustrating.
Frustrating, that's what I said.
Hey,
Anyway,
Kit. Hey, Kit. Whip.
anyway. Also, the arms being entirely lacking any sort of articulation outside of the shoulder means that he can't really make use of those whips for any sort of posability.
Stop it! Stop it!
Yes, and also the head is ball jointed, but frustratingly, it is ball jointed in the opposite way that it should be. It is ball jointed at the back, so the rotation that would normally be rotating side to side now rotates around the center of the head. So hypothetically, it should Rampage's head does not rotate, it tilts. It tilts from side to side so he can look at you and cock his head like a confused dog.
He is a very miserable toy.
Yes. I would argue probably, in fact, no, I would confidently say, personally, it is the worst toy, capital W, worst toy of the entirety of the RTF line.
Did you just say worst?
I did. I said worst.
Fuck you.
Actually, and something else I might be mistaken because, again, this is going off of memory. The treads are rubber, aren't they?
The treads are rubber, yes.
And my least favorite part of this toy is just how tightly you have to pull on the treads just to get them to...
I was going to mention that, yes.
Just to get them to lock. It's awful. It feels like you're going to rip it off.
It feels like you're going to break the toy.
Yeah. I got this toy in a 4-pack for Christmas one year. It came with him, the darker variant of Breakaway, Movie 1 long arm, and a slight redeco of Sideways that was slightly darker than the original release and had some tampograph bullet holes. I ended up breaking long arm by accident by being a stupid little idiot, and I can safely say I broke the wrong toy.
You absolutely did. Long arm is a great toy.
I really need to get a new copy of him. Never got around to it. I did end up replacing my Sideways though with the proper version, but I still have Rampage.
You know what you should get instead of long arm kit?
What?
You should get the Hoist redeco.
The Hoist?
The Hoist redeco, yes. The Hoist redeco. I think the Hoist redeco is quite good, personally. If I were only to own one, I would get the Hoist redeco.
I don't know if this has been reported, but those rubber treads, hopefully they don't suffer the same problems that Demolisher did, where they apparently ate away at the plastic after 10 years.
I'd need to check my copy, but In all likelihood, they would, because they're the same material. There's no reason why they wouldn't be the same material.
Rampage deserves it.
It would be very strange if they weren't the same material. So if you love ROTF Rampage, if it is your favorite toy from your collection from ROTF, go and check that it's not melting.
Or go and check that it is melting, because he deserves it.
It's true.
Stupid little idiot toy.
I mean,
Bitch.
but I mean, at the very least, I can see why the treads were made of rubber, because they make more effective whips that way.
Yes.
But I think we'll move on now. And to wrap things up, a toy that I think is way overdue for a good thrashing.
The toy that's way overdue.
Mm-hmm. So finally, like, for all the praise we have continuously heaped upon the line Scout Class range across this podcast, they weren't all shining gems. And while the breakdown and roll bar molds are dishonorable mentions, I have to say, Scalpel is by far the worst of them. I'll stop. I mean, I don't mind the concept of a microscope transformer with an insectoid robot mode, because in the film he turns into what I think is called a lens meter, whereas the figure's alt mode is a stereo microscope. I get the change, because given the impracticality of translating the former design into a toy, yeah, it just wouldn't be feasible. But you do have some play value with the sliding lens assembly on the pillar stand. The microscope as a whole looks clean, with no obvious robot parts. The robot itself is appropriately creepy, and on the whole, the figure looks fine. Emphasis on looks. Scalpel can join the pile of toys that would be, at the very least, decent, if not for one fatal flaw: those bloody ball and socket joints in his legs. If you browse through forums or wherever, you'll find numerous reports of them cracking with little to no effort, and I should know, because that happened to mine long after I reviewed it. In fact, I think we had a comment earlier in this episode of someone saying that theirs was broken right out of the box.
Yes.
And right now you could probably find a shit ton of junker copies on eBay or something. And
yes, every single copy that shows up on Transformer Land says it's broken.
I wonder why. And even if yours is somehow intact after all this time, despite all those joints for articulation, Scalpel can't pose worth a damn. Fragility aside, not only is he top-heavy with spindly legs, he doesn't have a flat footprint. It's a shame because both him and Ejector were the closest we got to real gear robots for this line, despite being too small for that. I mean, I think I said before that Blazemaster was my least favorite toy from this line, or at least of the ones I've experienced. But in hindsight, the one thing I will give him, he has actual longevity. Scalpel, not so much. If nothing else, they're both problematic for different reasons.
Mm-hmm. Another thing about Scalpel is I had this figure as a kid, and I lost all the legs because of the aforementioned issues. But even when he was intact, you're right, he cannot pose worth a damn, because despite the fact that the legs are ball jointed, those ball joints have almost no range. And they can't extend fully. So you're kind of stuck with him having the legs tucked under the body. Very frustrating. And a shame because it is a unique design and a pretty memorable scene from the movie.
I like the bit where the thing goes up Sam's nose.
They should have made a toy of that.
Yeah. Wouldn't be sold at Walmart, though.
No.
Anyway, yeah, I think I've already spoken at length about my experience with Scalpel, so I don't want to beat a dead horse.
Well, I mean, since he wasn't here for the first half of the podcast, do we want to go back to like the first couple of slides for Shah to give his take on like the line's main features and what it had to offer?
Sure.
I could.
That's the wrong slide. Here we are.
Well, I'll just give my thoughts quickly so I don't hold everyone up. I think that the RTF line represented the designers at Hasbro and Takara more coming to understand the Bayverse aesthetic and how to translate it into toys. As we know, as great as the 07 line was, it did represent a period of transition from the more blocky designs of the Unicron trilogy era to the more alien aesthetic of the Bayverse. And there were certain teething issues, and you can see in characters that were done in both the 07 and the RTF line that the designers had become more comfortable with the aesthetic. I personally don't mind the complex transformations. I think the problem more so than the complex transformations of the era was the ambiguity of certain designs, where things were complex, yes, but the problem was that things didn't tab into place. Things did not have, because so many things were ball jointed, it didn't mean that things had a linear motion that they would follow, so you would know where they were. And I think that is the real kicker when it came to why the complexity of the RTF line was so notorious. I quite like the Mech Alive gimmick. I think Mech Alive is quite cool. As a proponent of gimmicks, I think it was quite satisfying and generally not intrusive. And I also thought Nest was really cool, and I liked the toys from Nest. I think that my thoughts summed up.
Very nice.
And what about what this toy line had to offer in terms of its products?
Oh, well, I think overall it was pretty good. Outside of the mainline toys, I don't actually think I had many of the figures outside the main line, besides Devastator, which I had as a kid and I actually didn't like very much because it didn't have individual robot modes. I remember a lot of my time with that figure was me trying to figure out fan modes trying to figure out robot modes for the individual limbs, which were often, of course, very underwhelming because I didn't have much to work with. I didn't have any of the auto changes. I don't think I haven't had any of the fast action battlers from this year's line either. I didn't actually have any of the Human Alliance figures either, so I can't really say much in that regard either.
You're missing out on that one.
I know. I keep looking at Human Alliance figures and I think, wow, they were really cool. I should have had some, but I didn't. And the I don't actually know the name of the line of the die-cast cars, but since they didn't transform, I wasn't really interested in them as a kid.
Were you a purist?
I was a purist. You must understand, my fascination with Transformers has always been and will always be the transformations.
Understandable.
I have a one-track mind. Well, less so these days. I can appreciate them these days, though I wouldn't really collect them. But yes. Yes, I am a bit of a purist.
Do you want to go over your, even though we don't have the slides for them, do you want to go over your faves and least faves?
Sure. Have we already done faves then?
Yes.
That's a shame. Missed out on that.
You missed out on all the faves.
I know. Very unfortunate, entirely my fault. I would once again like to apologize to the faculty and to the students. Very unprofessional of me. But my favorites from this line, off the top of my head, were Long Haul. I quite enjoy. I know Long Haul is a little bit controversial because he was so lanky compared to his more stocky model in the film.
I always thought he looked cool.
But I like how detailed he is. I like the working pistons. Even though he has the barbell arms, I think they work for this character because of him being the, I suppose, muscle of the Constructicons. I think his working dump gimmick is really cool. And also his flip out blades are a fun gimmick. So overall, yes, enjoy. Mind Wipe. I think everyone knows my opinions on ROTF Mind Wipe. Very cool figure. Very stylish. Unique alt mode. Once again, fun gimmick with the flip out blades in the hands. And cool integration with the Scout class figure. Very cool figure. Breakaway, another interesting design, quite unique. I enjoy the machine gun on the arm. The fact that it spins around is a nice little feature. It has the spring-loaded feet though, which is a bit annoying, but it seems to be a trend with flying characters from this toy line. And the head is, of course, limited because it's inside the cockpit. But I think the design has a lot of character. Bludgeon. Bludgeon is Bludgeon. It is one of the coolest. It is probably one of the coolest Transformers designs ever. This Bludgeon has been for the longest time the definitive Bludgeon, even with the Legacy release, which was a repainted Tarn. I still think to this day that ROTF Bludgeon remains the definitive Bludgeon toy.
Too bad he melts.
It is too bad, yes. Because he has the same rubberized plastic as Rampage and Scavenger.
Yes.
And last on my list is Ransack. I just really like Ransack because I'm an aviation nerd, and he turns into a Albatross, which is a German, well, something approaching an Albatross. It's close enough. It's a World War I German plane. It's very cool. I like that it has I like the repaints, and the fact that you can make a sort of miniature flying circus with the repaints, even though one of them was never released. Grr. And it's quite a compact, nice little figure. Unfortunately, mine is missing pieces, and I need to get a new one at some point. In terms of least favorites, I'm going to start with Rampage. I feel like we've gone over Rampage enough now, haven't we?
Yeah.
This might be a bit of a controversial choice, but Stratosphere. I don't like Stratosphere.
You're right, that is controversial.
I like the idea of Stratosphere. I think the execution of the toy is lacking.
In what way?
He didn't feel very solid. In fact, on mine, the knees broke. I think he suffers from GPS.
Yes, he does.
Doesn't feel very solid. He's very lanky, which is a bit incongruent for a character who's supposed to be such a big hulking guy. He just, outside of the gimmick of him having the Optimus Prime that can jump out, he just doesn't really do much. He doesn't really have any accessories. Can't really.
He was going to have an accessory, but that got cut for budget reasons.
Well, coulda, woulda, shoulda. I will understand the budget, and I will understand that the fact that it doesn't, the fact that it lacks the accessory does not mean. Sorry, the fact that it was going to have an accessory at one point does not negate the fact that it does not have an accessory. And it's not right to say that it can't do anything, because it can pose, and it can pose decently well, but he doesn't look very cool posing. Of course, he has a good alt mode, but it's an RTF toy, and if you're an RTF toy and you don't have a good alt mode, you're doing something very wrong, as we have established. And also, the head sculpt looks like he's wearing clown makeup. That's always been a pet peeve of mine.
Jarkspore asks, does Breakaway have GPS? He looks like it. And I will answer, no, I do not believe so.
Stratosphere does.
Stratosphere does, but Breakaway does not.
Yes. What else? Next is Jolt. Jolt is just, in my opinion, a very underwhelming car former. The whips are on this toy plastic for once, and they just fold out from the hands, and they don't really do much. And the chest is clear plastic, and he's a guy who fades into the background, but not in a fun way.
Also, his head can't turn.
Yeah. He is just, in my opinion, a thoroughly underwhelming figure, and was for a long time. Then we have, just a couple more figures that we've already talked about. Soundwave, for all the reasons Kit has shared, and poor old Blazemaster. I feel like we've ribbed on those toys enough now, though.
Yeah, I think Blazemaster is the one toy that's on all three of our lists.
Yeah.
I'm honestly surprised you picked Bludgeon as one of your faves, considering in a previous episode you considered that to be an overrated toy.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh.
I suppose both can be true.
Both can be true. I think it is a good toy, but it is a deeply flawed toy, in fairness. I think the design could be improved on, were there ever an SS figure of it, but I doubt that's going to happen, unfortunately. And quite frankly, if there was an SS figure, I would be skeptical if they could improve on it, because of the way budgets are these days.
Yeah, it'd be $40.
It would.
Yeah, I had the Banzaitron redeco of that one for Hunt for the Decepticons. The look is cool, but it could function a bit better. Also, I know why they used soft plastic for his weapons, but goddamn, does it not cause that tank barrel to go limp?
It absolutely does, and
maybe he's just cold.
And it also leads to the it can lead to the hands breaking, because the way you're expected to put the swords into the hands is you're supposed to push them between the fingers, and that puts stress on the fingers, which can lead to them breaking, which is why I in fact designed a set of replacement hands for Bludgeon and a replacement sword where the end is removable so that it can be slotted in like a normal sword accessory.
Char, guess what?
What?
If you were on time, you could have made a slide shilling your shop.
Oh no. Oh well. Well, I don't make any money from it. It's a work of charity. If you want one, if yours breaks and you have a 3D printer, check out Not Shah Designs on Cults 3D, where the designs are available for free, absolutely nothing.
My thoughts on those toys: Breakaway. Yeah, I think he has a unique look to him, with the hunchback head sort of immersed within the canopy. I prefer the thrust redeco myself with the new head.
I'll be right back.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Long haul. I'm finding with a lot of these toys, I have the molds, but not necessarily the figures that were released in Revenge of the Fallen itself, because I have Payload from Long Haul, Strafe from Mindwipe. I reviewed Banzaitron instead of Bludgeon. And yeah, that's it.
Mm.
I'm honestly surprised you didn't just pick almost the entire Scout class range, given that you're a big stan of that.
It is true. I could have done that. But it felt a bit. It felt a little bit obvious, I suppose. A little bit played out. So I tried to pick some things. Well, no, I picked some things that I already talked about already. This list was made in a big rush, I'll admit. But
you know what? Since I'm not sure if I mentioned my dishonorable mentions for the Scouts, so I'll just list them here. It's Breakdown and Rollbar. Both are just they just fall in the underwhelming category. Breakdown is just like a dire dead end. And Rollbar, pretty big shell former. On the subject of that mold, Kit, didn't you say that the Redeco wide load is what you chose to buy over Beast Wars Neo Stampy?
Yes, I was waiting to tell that story again. Yeah, I'm still kicking myself. In my defense, I was like 12, so
12-year-old Kit had poor taste.
yeah, I did.
What is funny is that I own both versions of that mold, though. I own both Rollbar and Wide Load, and yes, they are probably the most underwhelming Scout classes. They are the budget Optimus Prime. They are the bargain bin Ultra Magnus.
I just like the gimmick. I think it's fun and
The
neat.
gimmick, the Automorph gimmick, is the toy's saving grace, and it is quite satisfying, I will admit.
Yes. Anyway, I think
Would you say Rollbar has a Red Bull homage on him? The energy drink?
Yes.
I guess so, yeah. Actually, yeah, you're right. I never thought of it, but yes. I don't know what I thought that was, but I never realized it was a Red Bull. It was meant to be a Red Bull reference.
Yeah.
I don't know what I thought it was. I thought he was you know what I thought he was? I thought it was a truck that was hauling bulls, like actual bulls. That's what I thought.
Doot. Hauling cattle.
Yes. I mean, it kind of looks like the kind of truck that would haul cattle, maybe a little bit.
Anyway, I think we should wrap this up and get to the part of the show where we where we get audience participation. Now, every episode we have what's called Chugcratic submissions on my Discord server, linked in the description, where we ask a question and receive answers from people who watch the show, who are also on the Discord. And today's question was just, what are your favorites and least favorites? So we're just going to go through 4 submissions today. The first one from DN Prime 17, who is a lot more positive than most people, it looks like. He says his bests, lots of scouts here: Reaver, Breakdown, Dirt Boss, Scattershot, and Depth Charge. I kind of forgot that Scattershot was part of the Revenge of the Fallen toy line. And he also lists Deluxe, Brawn, and Gears. And for his worst, he only lists Roll Bar. Sucks to be Roll Bar.
It's so sad. I feel kind of bad for Roll Bar because he's not a bad figure. He's just kind of
meh.
He's just kind of meh.
Oh, he also has those cartoony hands like Soundwave. Just little lumpy fists. Lumping fists.
If it makes you feel better, Jarkspore, nothing, as far as I'm concerned anyway, will top Scalpel in terms of badness for the scouts.
I will say, if I had had more time to make my list, maybe I would have considered Brawn. I didn't know what the scope of ROTF Toyline actually was, if we were counting Hunt for the Decepticons type. No, I didn't have time to verify things. But yes, Brawn is a very cool deluxe. I like his guns.
Brawn was Revenge of the Fallen, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, these are all pretty good picks. Many of them we've already talked about. I actually think the Breakdown mold is okay. I have the GDO Dead End repaint, and he's okay. He's okay.
Commenting on toys that I haven't talked about yet, Scattershot has some neat things going on with how the guns on the roof align up pretty well with his arms. Like the pistol grips, if that's what they are, wind up within his hands. That's pretty neat. Arms themselves are a bit gangly, but a fine scout class figure for the most part. And it's a pretty I wouldn't say it's too soon, but a bit. God, what am I trying to say? It's a Cybertron homage that came earlier than we expected.
Yeah, I think it might have been the first one. It had only been like 3 years out.
And Brawn, he's fine. He's just okay in my opinion. An armored Autobot warrior, friendly enough. The redeco of Scattershot, Fire, called Fire. Is it Fire Trap or Tap? Either one.
I think it's Trap.
Yeah. Either way, he looks more like G1 Brawn than Brawn does.
Yeah. It's kind of funny. What with the Universe toys being still out in full force in Market 6, Revenge of the Fallen Scattershot was on the shelves still with his original toy. The original Cybertron Scattershot was still on shelves in Universe packaging at this time.
Yes, it was. Yes. I remember I got that toy at that time. Which was very strange.
Yeah, like...
sorry, and just saying Reverb, Evil Knievel. Yeah,
very nice deco. Very nice deco. Our next submission comes from Needle Nose Enthusiast. His best are the Deluxe Soundwave, the G1 colors version from the what is it called? Meeting on the Nemesis 3-pack, something like that. Scout Class Dirt Boss, Voyager Bludgeon, and the Yellow Deluxe Rampage is on his best list. Very controversial.
Very controversial indeed.
But he rectifies that by putting Mixmaster on his worst. He also says Ravage always broke once in a while, but always easy to fix. I don't know what that means. I'm gonna be honest. I still wish I experienced Sideways and Mind Wipe. Here.
Well, I've never had a sideways. It does look like a cool toy, though.
I have had 2 plus a dead end.
Ravage very much falls in the camp of movie 1 Scorponok, where you're buying it for the beast mode.
Yeah, barely counts as a Transformer.
Yeah. Still, a cool action figure based on the Transformers movie.
Yeah, I'd like to get one sometime.
How do you feel about the sideways mold compared to 07 Barricade? Because they're not that dissimilar in design.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I like Sideways more just because I don't know. My Barricade's in very bad shape. I need to get a replacement for him at some point. But I always enjoyed Sideways. I found him to be a particularly strong toy, very detailed transformation. And while I have been complaining about toys with very small footprints, and Sideways has probably the smallest footprint, I've never really had that much trouble balancing him. He's just built a bit better than toys like Blazemaster, and he's balanced better than Starscream. Like, he's nowhere near as top heavy. He has a lot of mass in his lower legs, comparatively. Though I do say Dead End has him beat, just in terms of style. I love that Dead End. Also, Runestone, I believe you've reviewed that toy at one point, so I really suggest everyone go watch that video with the volume all the way up.
And then after that, watch my review of Beast Wars Injector.
Yeah, and Dinobot 2.
Shall we move on?
Yes, our third submission comes from Shockblade, who says his best are Deluxe Breakaway, Scout Depth Charge, and Voyager Mind Wipe, all 3 toys we've spoken of.
Have we spoken about Depth Charge?
Yes, Runestone.
I talked about Sonar.
Yeah, Sonar was on his best list.
Oh, yes. Well, I like Depth Charge as well.
Yes. And on his worst, he puts Deluxe Sideways. I will admit it is a very acquired taste, I think Sideways is. And he also puts Human Alliance Bumblebee on his worst. I really wish we could have... We probably should have asked people to defend their answers just to give us more to talk about.
Yes, that's interesting, because generally the Human Alliance figures are quite well liked.
Yeah, the only one I've ever actually heard a bad reputation about is Sideswipe. So I'd like to know what he thinks about Bumblebee. Anyway, our last submission comes from Seb, who says the best is Scout Ransack and the worst is Deluxe Mudflap. He hated that toy as a kid. I do not blame you.
Yes.
A moment
Ransack,
of silence.
very good choice.
A moment of silence for the loss of Blue Maximus.
Anyway, that brings our episode to a close. This is oh, thank God that the thumbnail proved accurate in the end.
I'm actually glad that we discussed the toy line in the best and worst format instead of just going over the whole line, because Lord knows how long this episode would be going on for.
Oh God,
that would be exhausting.
I would have been up till 2 a.m. again, which would not be good.
But I think we've all forgotten one crucial thing about this toy line that I'm surprised no one has brought up. Without this toy line, Flamewave would not have an avatar.
Oh man, you're right.
So true.
So
So
true.
real.
So true. Anyway, this has been a great episode, a great trip down memory lane for the Revenge of the Fallen toy line. Cannot wait for episode 30 where we cover Dark of the Moon.
That might be a bit tricky because I don't have as much experience with that toy line compared to the first two movies.
Well, do you have enough to say whether you have ones you like and don't like?
I guess.
Well, I have nearly the whole damn toy line as far as the main line goes, so I think I might take the lead.
Might be the idea, I think.
Yeah.
Who's up for an extracurricular on Scout class?
Me.
Whee!
Way.
Whee!
Anyway, I think it's about time to bid our farewell. I have been Kit Catastrophe, the headmaster of the School of Athenia. If you're watching this, you are probably already subscribed to my YouTube channel, but you can also join the Crew of Kit Discord server linked in the description. And you can follow me on both Instagram and X at Kit_Catopia. Runestone, do you have anything to shill?
Not right now. Just check out my channel. My next review is probably going to be on animated electrostatic sound wave.
Ooh.
Very cool. And I have been your most humble Dean of Fabrication. Definitely not Shah. I would like to thank my very good friend who added me on Discord and reminded me that I had the podcast today and I was missing it, and snapped me out of my trance. You know who you are, and thank you very much if you're watching. And also, I guess I will shill. I don't have a YouTube channel as of now, but I can shill definitely not Char. Not Char Designs. Not Char Designs on Twitter.com. And Not Char Designs on Cults 3D. Go and check out my replacement parts if your bludgeon is buggered.
All right, and with that, we bid you farewell. Class dismissed.
Yes.
Farewell.